lips, which I assume everyone knows what those are. They lead into the oral cavity. So here again we have the lips. And this space inside here is the oral cavity. The vestibule, I will let you know, is this space between the cheek and the gums, but we don't need to know it, so you can cross it off. We're going to take vestibule off just for the fun of it here. The fauces is the opening at the back of your mouth. We don't call it a nares, we call it a fauces. So that's the fauces back there. And here. So this whole area. Again, opening would be in the words that you know what I'm looking for. The hard palate is this section in bone. The soft palate extends behind it in muscle and fat. The uvula is the little hangy downy guy at the back of your mouth. What it does is when you swallow, it goes ahead and swishes that, blocks the nasopharynx so that hopefully food and water don't come up and out through your nose. This is the tongue. I know that's very hard. Then we get the salivary glands. So the salivary glands obviously release saliva. They usually are on these torso models. Not this one though. There is one on the outside. Let me show you the one on the outside. Well, Sean grabs that one. The glands are going to look like endocrine glands, but they're not. So they're going to be knobby. These are exocrine. This is the parotid. Para meaning by or through. Thank you. And otid meaning ear, like an otoscope. Okay, so this is the parotid, and then you can see it again here, the parotid. Okay, then to see the other two, we need to go ahead and turn to the side, and we see the submandibular and then the sublingual. Submandibular right at the back underneath your mandible bone, sublingual more underneath the tongue. Those are also the orangey sort of glandy looking thing. Both of these secrete saliva as well. From there, food passes down into the esophagus. The esophagus runs behind, posterior to the trachea. So this is esophagus in here. From the esophagus, it reaches the stomach. So this is the end of the esophagus. So this whole thing is stomach here. They want you to know the fundus, which is this area up in here, from the entrance to the esophagus up. So this is fundus. From here to about here is all called the body, and then this smaller area over here is the pylorus. They want you to be able to find the sphincters. These are bands maybe of muscle that we can use to clamp off the stomach so that when we're digesting, stomach acid doesn't move up your esophagus or down through the rest of the system. The one that's at the top is either called the cardiac sphincter because it's closest to the heart, or it's called the cardioesophageal sphincter. So, and it would be a band of muscle here. This one is fairly weak, why we can get acid reflux. The pyloric sphincter, you can see, is much more fully formed. It's going to clamp the bottom of the stomach and prevent food from exiting prematurely. Okay, when it does, right, we know that that's diarrhea. It's why it's very acidy, it's painful, all that great stuff that we associate with it. That's pyloric, snapped shut really tightly. The other thing they want you to be able to find are these folds. These are called rugae. Okay, all the folding inside is found in a lot of organs, and what it does is it allows the organ to expand. Okay, so it's not there to increase surface area, now it's there to allow expansion of the organ. From the stomach, food passes down into the small intestine. This little section here would be the duodenum, and it's a C shape, so it would continue around. We can see it on this guy if we pull the breastplate off. So here's my stomach, here's that cardioesophageal sphincter. We can even see the pyloric sphincter here. Put that back together. I'm going to go ahead and pull out this little C-shaped area in here. is all duodenum, okay, or duodenum, some people will say. It's the first portion. From there, it passes into the rest of the intestines. The upper portion in general is jejunum, the lower portion is ileum. So it's just kind of here versus here. There's not a really fine division on the models. If we pull this out, when we look at this is the last section of the ileum. There's a little valve that separates the ileum from the large intestine. It's this thing in here. It's called the ileocecal valve. Again, it's designed to allow us to shut off the small intestine so that food doesn't move prematurely into the next unit, which is the large intestine here. So I'm going to skip over those other two and go on to large intestine. The large intestine, the first area in here, so if we were looking at it put together, this area down in here is considered cecum. It's very small in us because we don't eat a lot of grass. Off the back of it, and it might be harder to see, but this little thing that shoots off the back, that's the appendix, back over in here. From there, food would move up the ascending colon, across the transverse colon, down the descending colon, and then up and back through the sigmoid colon, that's S-shaped, taking it down to the rear, which is all the way at the bottom, which is the rectum, and then out the hole, which is the anus. Now the only model that we really have that's good for that is one of the reproductive, so we'll have to look at that on a different model another time. Surrounding all of this, you can see on this model back here, we have those mesenteries like we did on the cat. Okay, this is going to hold and protect all these, keep them all in place. This sheath that actually folds down on top is called the greater omentum. It's like a little apron that it wears in front of it. The accessory organs for the system are first of all the liver and the pancreas, which we're seeing here. Here's the pancreas, so you can see that it would sit normally right underneath the stomach. Okay, sort of hidden back there. If we move the stomach out here, we can see the pancreas. This fishbone looking thing in the middle is called the pancreatic duct. This is what the enzymes we're going to learn actually travel down to get into the duodenum. Another accessory structure is the gallbladder. When you look at the front of the liver, you can see the gallbladder kind of peeking out. If we turn the liver upside down, we can see that it's much more substantial than that. That's gallbladder. And then we get to the bile duct system that we will look at on a different model next time. So we'll look at that next time. Okay, we're going to switch to this model. So what we're going to look at now is the villus model. Now we're inside the intestines. This would be the tube that would form your intestine. And we're looking at the different wall layers. So the innermost layer is the mucosa. So all of this, which the food would actually be passing by, is the mucosa. When it folds really nicely like this, these are the villus, increasing surface area so that we can absorb more. Each of these purple things is considered, well, actually, I guess in this one it's the beige. Sorry, each of these beige things is an intestinal gland.
So not the purple or both?
I think the purple are supposed to be them as well, but for sure the beige. I'll have to look and see if we have a model for lacteal, so you can put a question mark on that. They're not on here. Well, the next layer down from that is the submucosa. The submucosa is this area in which we see the blood supply. So all of this area in here is submucosa. We can see the little blue and red dots. The next layers are the muscularis. So here is the muscularis. Notice that this first layer of muscle is not considered part of the muscularis, which confuses some people. The muscularis is these that are deep to superficial to the submucosa. So we have two bands of muscles that run around, and it's easiest to look at them from the top. If we drew this one completely around, what shape would it form? Circle. These are the circularis muscles. These muscles, by contrast, that we're seeing that look like little stakes from the top, when we look at them from the side, they run the entire length of the organ. They're the longitudinal, just like long axis, they run the long axis of the organ. So they would run from one end to the other of the intestine. These two layers are going to move together to move the food through the system. And that's it.